Howdy lovelies, how are you all doing? Welcome back to our crafting, where we learn, grow and craft together. In today's session, we are going to make some paper beads. However, before we get to that, I just have to apologize. In the previous session, I promised that we will be cutting the slits into our paper. However, we never got to that, and we will quickly do that today. I'll show you that, but first, let's make the paper beads. Why are we doing paper beads today? Well, we're going to use that to decorate the spine with. And because we all are in this paper crafting business, we do have a lot of paper. Now, I last made paper beads when I was a child, so that's many years back. However, I think that is still ingrained in me. If I think back, it's one of those sessions that will always be, or not sessions like it was a once-off, but a crafting session that was done repeatedly because I was so impressed with this, making beads with newspapers and magazines and gift wrap and all kinds, and I would sit and string it up for hours and hours. So I guess that's where my love for paper is coming from. So without further ado, let's get started. So what we're going to need is any type of paper. You can decide. If you want it very interesting, you can use thin paper, like copy paper. You can use gift wrap, you can use newspaper, magazines, brochures, any such thing. You can even use the programs of somebody. Say, for instance, you want to make them a special bracelet and for a graduation gift or something, and you have that extra program of the order of the day available. You can use that to make the beads with something really special. Now, I've got some green and blue here. I've got some red that I've already cut, and I will show you. See, some of my paper is stained, so I use that. It's not a bother. And then I have some yellow strips that I just want to repurpose. This was from a project that I've done. I've got quite a few of these 1-inch strips, the length of the paper, but it's a 1-inch, so I have tons of those. So I am incorporating this in the backgrounds of cards, even in ephemera pieces. So over time I might just show you a project or two using these strips, and then you will know where that is coming from. So what do we need to make these paper beads? I'll show you one or two that are already made. I sealed it with clear nail varnish. It's actually quite the thing. I hope you can see that. I'll just put my hand underneath so that you can see. So the length of this, and I'll show you, and it will make more sense then. This is rolled up with a little hole. So if I take my skewer, you can see that it fits on there. It goes in. I don't want to get it stuck because I've done it at the back, but there we go. So that is the length of the bead. So I'll put that to one side. I've got some clear nail varnish here, and I also have some glitter nail varnish. Now, what do we need to do? You can find many paper bead templates on Google. If you Google paper bead templates, there are loads available. It shows you different ones. The bead that I'm going to show you today is a very basic one. It's the so-called oval bead, and the template that I made for myself is like this. It's basically a very thin triangle, but wider. So this width here at the end, from this one corner to the other, is the length of your bead. So if you look here, that is my bead. Now this one, you can see this. There we have it. That's the length of the bead. And I made this with a red. Now we will make a few colors together today. So you roll it up on a skewer. You can use a toothpick. I prefer the skewer because it gives me a bigger hole to thread with, because I haven't decided what I will use to bind my journal with. So I decided I want something thicker. Now this is long. Our spine is not going to be too very wide. The part that the width of it is something different, but there's a part that is exposed on both sides, and for this I will put this in. You can go watch it if you want to. It is Natasha from Treasure Books. I'm using her half-exposed spine journal as inspiration for this spine. Now the beads, like I said, it's this width. When you roll it up, it's very easy, and she's also using the paper beads to decorate her spine with. So you start basically rolling from this side. No glue yet. You start about there to put glue on there, and then you roll it tightly. Not so tight that you can't get it off. And I did this one specifically so that I can show you when it's too tight. There's no way in this earth that you will be able to get this off. So that's why I broke this one. So you want it still loose, but not so loose that it uncurls itself. So you put enough ample glue on there. I use glue stick. You can do Mod Podge, liquid glue, whatever. I just prefer the glue stick. It's easy. It comes easy off the finger if you have it. If you have some, you can see there's a bit of glue here. On your cutting mat or wherever you work, you can just wipe it off afterwards. So be careful to roll it too tight, because then you cannot get it off. And yes, be careful. Skewers might be different thicknesses on the skewer. They're not a perfectly round shape, so just bear that in mind as well. You can also use something like a very thick needle, maybe a knitting needle or so. If you don't have skewers, just think of something. If you're working with children, you can maybe have them roll it up onto beads. Roll the beads up onto straws. So instead of using a skewer, you can use a straw. Be mindful of the straw. If you do it too tight, the straw will bend. So it needs to be tight, but not that tight that it gets stuck. So this one I really had to pull very, very tightly so that it's stuck there. Just so that I can warn you about this. So this is the template I'll be using. Let's do one of the red ones. I don't need more. Yeah, I need more. I need 3 more. So we will do that. And then I want to make shorter ones. Now, when I say shorter, this is the length of it. So I need some of them that are a whole lot shorter. So I need to cut this a whole lot that it's not as wide. So let's get started. I'm going to just move this paper out of the way. Bear this template in mind. I'll keep it here if you want to just look at it still. You can see the width of it. It's 3 centimeters at the back. And it goes narrower to the front of this. This is 21 centimeters about. And the width at the back is 3 centimeters. So that's just over 1 inch wide. Now, I'm going to show you. Open up the glue stick. There we have that. So what I do is I try to roll this, and I'm moving it so that you can see. I just take my skewer, place it straight, because if you don't place it straight, you will not be able to get it all centered onto the skewer. And I'm just rolling this, holding it in there, and just roll it a little bit so that it curls. Then I open it up, and you can see it's got that little shell curl now. I'm going to add some glue from about there. And there's a thick piece now, but it doesn't matter. Take this back, and then hold this, and just roll it up to there. Once it's touching the glue, I lift it off the working bench. Now make sure this is centered well. Mine is skew. And there we go. It now keeps on going skew, and I do not want it skew. There we go. Just hold it. It takes a little bit of practice. You can see it's still moving about the skewer. Just keep this centered when you are adding it, gluing it down. And then we will put some glue to the end there. This one is going much skewer and skewer and skewer. Just pull it back to the middle. Now it's time for glue again. And there we have it. You can even put a little bit of glue over there just to make sure it is gluing down perfectly well. Now if you use Mod Podge, you could seal it with Mod Podge. I normally just leave this to dry, move this to the side. You see I moved it now, and it gets stuck there because there's a thicker spot there. So I'll use the rest. Let's do another one. I anyway need 3 more. I decided I will have 15 pages, so I will do 3 signatures of 5 pages each. Just bear that in mind. You can do 2, you can just do 1 if you want to, and then just use the other beads to fold that piece. We will still get to that in the next session, but it will make a whole lot more sense then. So let's carry on with the next one. I want to show you the process of cutting the strips. This one I didn't roll. I want to show you what happens if you don't roll it up. You must find a process that is working for you. So I just keep this in there and roll it tightly. Keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling. I still prefer when it hits the glue that I can pull this tighter. See, it doesn't go that tight if you roll it on the workbench. It doesn't work for me. Maybe you can find a way that's working. I prefer to manipulate it with the hand, holding it. I can feel the tightness of it there. I can center this, keep it centered while I'm gluing. Remember, this glue really dries fast, so let's just do the rest of that. And I prefer the glue stick because for me it's less messy. Now this one, I want to show you what happens. It's still fine, it's not the end of the world, but you can see that it goes skewer. Now, idea with this being the oval bead is that it is the same right across. Now this one, you can see is thinner this side. The side is much thicker because I glued that down on the one side. Really not a train smash. We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. So there, just move it. It can move still. This one gets stuck. There's a spot there where it's a bit thicker. I think it's that ridge there. So it can dry, and then I want to show you how I just seal this with clear nail polish, or I will try with some glitter. So next one, the last red one that I need, then we will move on to different colors. Now I want to use this the base as the base bead, so there will be more red. Didn't curl it yet again. And time to lift it off the cutting mat. And it really is a quick process. Once you have cut your strips, it really is easy. And you can see why this is such a great activity for little ones. However, my video was not made for children. But if you have children or grandchildren, you can get them to make some paper beads, especially for that fine motor skills. And just keep turning it, twisting, so that it can glue down. And you can see there's no glue on my finger, so there's nothing sticking. So it's really, all the glue smears is on the cutting mat. And there we have it. Tight enough, but still moving. So let's quickly show you how to just add the nail polish. Doesn't matter what brand you use. It can literally be the cheapest that you possibly have. Maybe you have something that you can use that you don't mind. You can use some Mod Podge. You can use some acrylic glue or craft glue to seal this with as a sealant. Maybe you have some craft varnish that you are able to use. It changes the color a bit. It makes it a whole lot more brighter. It's still wet, but it dries with that bit of a gloss. If you don't want to seal your beads, you don't have to. But if you want to make something like a bracelet, you're going to wear it often, then I would say it is much needed to wear that often. It needs to be sealed, because otherwise the paper will discolor. If you wash your hands and there's some water coming onto it, it will be going soft and tear and all of that, and all your hard work will be in vain. So seal it properly. You can do 2 layers if you so wish. I'm going to just do 1 layer for now and put it upright so that it can dry. The clear nail varnish doesn't take so long to dry, but I would suspect if you use the glitter varnish, it might take a little bit longer. So there we have those longer ones, and I've got the beads now that I need. Our exposed area won't be that much on the I don't want to touch it now because there will be finger marks on there. So I'm going to put this upright just in a little box here next to me, and it can dry. In the meantime, we are going to go ahead and cut the strips for the smaller beads. It is always a good thing to have 1 or 2 extra beads. Now, I've got some 2 extra red strips here that I might just complete off camera. The rest of these little strips, I will keep it to one side. You know that I do make cards, not very often, but I do sometimes, and I will be using that in there. Now, there's our template. I'll just move that to one side. Now, let's see if I can get this sorted. I need very short strips. So for this one, I am going to use my cutting mat just to get this. I don't want such wide strips, so it's about to here, I guess. Not even sure, but it is what it is. So I'm going to slice it here. Maybe there or there. Instinct is telling me it will be about there. Well, we can check if I was right. Yep. So that's that. It's the width that we want, shorter. So put that to one side. We don't want this as wide, so this will be tricky. I will put that to one side for now, and I want to see if I can get this sorted. Now, the strips will be a whole lot shorter than this, I think. No, it actually isn't. How awesome is that? That's now just... So let's see if we can maybe get 2 out of here. I'll just try with this one first, and I'm going to more or less there. This is just me wanting to utilize this strip. I think it's a little bit off, but it's okay. It's about 1.5. So I'm going to just fold this for myself to get the middle point. So I know I need to now trim it from this end to that. if you had the template, see this one, let me use scissors, it's a bit tricky to cut, but it's okay, we will manage that. There we go. Now this will be a little bit more tricky. Let's go there and to there, hold it tightly. It moved a bit, we need to get it to that corner, and I'm sure I'm out of the view, so let me just move this in, slightly in, from the top to this bottom here. Now, there we go, not too bad. So we've got that. I need to do 3 more. Let's see if I can manage to hold these strips together while I trim it shorter. It's going to be very tricky. So it needs to be about 1.5 centimeter. I'm sorry, I am not sure what that is in inches. So trim that strip off. No, not throwing it away. I can use that. Now with this, I'm going to use the same process. Just fold it so I can get the midpoint there. And then let's see if we can trim this. So lining up the ruler from this corner to that midpoint there. Just make sure it doesn't move, because if the ruler slides, we have a problem. Now lining up from this right bottom corner to that sharp point there. There we go. And then slice it down there. Awesomeness. Now it's a bit, I don't know, at an angle, something went wrong there. But, oh, it's just the way that it goes because it's very thin. So there we have our strips. Those two are definitely much sharper than this. So let's continue. These are the green one, the yellow ones now. So we will have to have more or less the same process for the green and the blue, because I want to have 2 beads, blue and green, blue and green, blue and green, yellow, whatever, I'm not sure yet. So let's see. The width of the spine isn't determined yet, but there's a part there where it will be exposed. So let me just give you a diagram, more or less, of what I mean. I'm a visual learner, as you can tell. So if I do this, I will be like almost like an H. This is not to proportion, please. So this part will have the beads. I'll just do that so you can see it, how we string it on, something of that effect. And there will be 3 signatures. Now this is not wide enough. This will be the cover. This is the cover. This will be exposed and you will see the pages. So I'll just put some zigzaggy lines there. That will show us our signatures. Now this needs to be a bit higher and higher, you know, lower here, but higher there. As I said, it's not proportionately correct. So this is the front cover and this will then be the back cover. And we still have to do the fasteners, whichever way that might be. It might be a clip, it might be whatever. You might decide not to have that. So we will add those paper beads here. And this is the exposed spine, or a half a spine, which I got the motivation. I am now totally missing the word here. But Natasha from Treasure Books has made one a couple of years back. And I always wanted to make one, which I did as a gift. It was a gift. And I don't have a photo of it even, so I thought for this safari series or African safari series, this will be perfect. Hence the colors that I'm using for the paper beads. Now you can honestly use newspaper, magazine pages, gift wrap, gift bags, old, whatever, your collage photo papers. It's up to you. Scrapbook paper, thin scrapbook paper, it really is up to you. But that's the idea, so we will be doing that shortly. It's a bit tricky, but not so bad. Remember in the first opening session of the series, I had shown you how to do the collage with the different book pages, and we had glued that down, and it's ready for us because it's quite thicker. And I did mention it, we would need the sturdiness of that, and you will see soon enough why we need that. So let's continue. I hope this skewer is sort of okay. You can see it's quite angled, it's not straight. These bamboo skewers normally bend a little bit, but it's okay, it will be functional. So it's a bit thinner, so I'm just going to roll it up just to get that curve, and then open it up again. So let's put some glue. And I'll just roll this up. Now this is a bit more tricky because it's not as wide, but just keep rolling, and then once it hits the glue, I like to just tighten that a little bit. You see how easily that moves. Just roll, guide it more or less to the middle so that it's always centered. This is really, really loose, but we want that thickness because I haven't decided what I will use to bind the journal with yet. And after we make the paper beads, oh, I hope I will remember, we need to quickly just cut the slits into, I'll just show you with one or two. I just want a bit of glue there, just so that I can smear it over there and it can glue down well. You can see that this is quite loose, not falling off necessarily, but it is still quite loose. Now, the next one, again, we're just rolling this up so that it can have that curve, because this part doesn't have the glue. Then we open it up, and about there, about 2 centimeters down, we start gluing it. So we roll it up again, same thing, hold it in place, roll it, and the minute it hits the glue, I like to lift it off the workbench. Now you can see that it had some glue from the previous one. The minute that you pick it up, it doesn't matter anymore. You can do it on a silicone mat, plastic bag, old lamination sheet, any surface. The glue washes off easily with soap and water. Now you will see when it's not gluing down anymore, so just add more glue and continue the rolling process. And there we have it. Almost done with this little bead. See, this one is very tight. There's a thicker spot there. Be careful. See what I just did? I just moved all the coils here. So be careful when you do want to move it, that you don't mess up the spacing or your hard work. So the next one, the same thing. Just roll it up. You can maybe try and do it in the air. I find it a bit more tricky. Just open it up so that you know where to start putting glue. And just do that. There we go. Hold it tightly. Start rolling, 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 rolling. Till you hit the glue. Then it becomes a whole lot easier, as it then has something to grip to. Just keep it centered so that it's evenly spread. Yes, this still turns a whole lot because remember, it's not glued to the skewer. And remember, the glue stick really, really, really dries quickly, so you might have to just glue it again for it to stick properly. When you get to the end of it, you can add a little bit more glue just to make sure that it is actually gluing down well, like so. Going to go ahead, let's try some glitter nail enamel. Now this is really shiny. It's like almost a bronzy color. Doesn't matter the brand. I'm not even going to show you the brand. I just want to maybe move this up a tiny bit up there so that I can see there's a thicker part there. Just pull it up a little bit. This one really got stuck there, but it's okay. We will maneuver it. So now I'm using glitter nail varnish, Q-Tex, call it what you want. See how this one is spinning around, and I'm just going to add that there to seal it. And I'm sure you can use a bit of Mod Podge with a bit of glitter in it, because I'm sure if you dip it in glitter, the whole thing will be covered, unless that is your jam and you want it like that. I like glitter, especially for some seasonal crafts, but fully aware of the effect of that on the environment. But then again, I reuse so many other things, so I think my carbon print is lower than most. The last one. I don't want to move this one too much because it's halfway off the skewer already. Just need a little bit more glitter there. You can go in, you can do a second layer if you so wish. But I guess the sparkles just add, not guess, I know the sparkles just add a little bit more flair to the beads. And especially if you want to make it something special. Now this is something bronzy already. And then with the holographic glitter pieces on top, it's actually quite cute. Now, let me just get this closed. There we have that. I'll put it one side to dry. And you can see it's actually quite cute. Maybe I should just bring it closer for you. You can see the glitter there in the light. So I'm going to leave that to dry now. And we will continue with the next bunch. Now, green ones. I think we need to make a few green ones. I think I will just do a green one and a blue one. We need 3 of each, more or less, do we? 2 of each? 2 of each should do. So for cutting the green and blue, you can see I have put the 2 sheets on top of each other. There's the blue and green. Our bead is about 1.5 centimeter wide, so we need 3 of those. So I'm going to cut it at 4.5 centimeters. I'm going to wing this, people, so really, truly, it might just turn out to be a mess. Normally what I will do with this is I will trace it, starting there, keep it level at the side, and simply go ahead and trace that. Flip it over, put it that side so that it is in line with the first one, trace it and flip it over. But I don't have a template like that made of cardstock. It just helps if it's made of cardstock, you can actually reuse it. So I'm going to just move this up. Like I said, with the yellow strips that are repurposed, I'm going to wing this. Now if it's 1.5 centimeter, we should get 3 strips out of there. So I'm going to cut this at supposedly 4.5 centimeters. Right. And I think it should have been the other way around. Let's just see if this is the length. Yeah, it's still fine. So that is great. Now, for this one, 3.5, so 1.5, 1.5. I'll slice that one there. I'll do it the same way that I've done the yellow, which is really a longer way more time consuming. And then this one in the middle there, so that we have 3 strips each. And I guess that one is not as perfectly in half, but it doesn't matter. It simply is what it is, and we will just go with it. So, not to waste too much time, I'm going to do the same thing we've done earlier. Just pinch that so we get that mark there. Line it up from that edge to this bottom here. Again, it moved, but it's okay-ish. We'll just trim it with the scissors in the middle in a moment. And then line this one up from that to this end. Hold it in place so that it can't slide. That was a much more successful cut. And then we will just trim this. You can see that it's got that little bit where it actually slipped. And we'll just trim that bitty off. I will just do these 2 because you have seen the process now. While we made the red ones, I will still put some glitter varnish on all of them. And then we made the yellow ones. So let's continue and make the 2 last beads that I will show you on camera. Same process. Take a skewer and you can put glue on them and start rolling it up. So this time I'm trying to roll it towards me, and let's see how that goes. Almost there where it's touching glue, we just start putting it in, manipulating it so that it stays in the middle. I can see better where the lines are when this is facing away from me. So we just keep rolling, rolling, rolling. You can see I'm holding it here with a fingernail in place so that it doesn't twirl around the skewer, because this is very loose. You don't want it so tight that you can't get it off, but you want to have a bit of grip on it so that you can continue rolling. And suddenly I've got that song in my head, rolling down the river, right? So there we go. That one is done. Now I'm going to try the same thing. Just put the glue on this way. This glue has been open for quite a while, so there's little chunks on it. Let's roll this one up as well. Let's see if it works the second time that I do this. Away from me. That one is now thicker, so it doesn't touch the cutting mat so well. And just roll that. There's a thick piece of glue there, but it's okay. I'll just roll this, go with the flow. It's quite sticky. And I'm going to flip it over and roll it away from me so I can see where it is going. And having that sticky glue all over. Don't pull too hard on this part that is left, because you can easily tear that off, which won't be the end of the world. It will just affect the thickness of your bead. It won't have so many layers. Now I've got this glue on here that is looking a little bit untidy. I don't like that at all. Just a bit of glue there, just to get that end to glue down well. Now let's see what silver nail polish, glitter nail polish would look like on here. Let's see. And this is a bit thicker. I guess it's a bit older. I'm not so sure. Maybe gelish. And this has got very fine glitter in it. I actually like that other one much better, but it is what it is. Truth be told, I went hunting for nail glitter or nail glitter polish, as I don't wear that myself. So I had to go search for some, hence it's the cheapest that I possibly could find. there we have those 2 beads. So this can now dry. The rest I will do off camera. And then when we need the beads, it will be ready and done. So I will be leaving that to dry with the yellow ones and the 3 red ones. As I said in the intro, last session, I forgot to actually show you how to cut the little slits in the paper. Now, you need to decide, and you have to write this down. When we get to making the album, the cover, I mean to say, we need to have that exact same measurement for our spine. The part that you cut off there should probably be equal here and the space in the middle. Now, these sheets, which is from Digital and SVG Designs for You on Etsy, are 17 centimeters, 17.2 centimeters. So what we need to do, and I need to write this down, you know by now I am visual. So 17.2 centimeters. We need a spine in the middle. So to make it easier for ourselves, I think we should have the middle part 7, that's quite a bit, and then 5 centimeters longer would be the bottom part. So 5 on the one side and 5 on the other side, and then in the middle would be our spine, which would then be 7.2 centimeters. I think that will be just the easiest and the quickest to understand. Now when we cut this out, we won't see that, it won't show. It will just be that little bit in the middle. So what we're going to do now is, I'm going to use a pencil, and just 5 centimeters from there, I'm going to just make a little mark, and then I'm going to put it on 15 here for myself, and at 10. So I'm going to just take these 2 sheets, I'm going to put it on top of each other, use my scissors, make a tiny, tiny slit in it, not wide, about a millimeter, not more than 2 millimeters, it can't be more than 2, so 1.5 maybe, from that side, and then I'm going to just trim that away at the edge, to where we made that tiny little cut. And there we should have it. It's still stuck there, so I'm just going to pull that off. Can you see that? We will open it right now. We did make that cut, so I'm going to just turn it over, and this will be a bit tricky, so I'll just hold it there. Excuse my thumb there in the way, but it's the only way that I can hold this and cut towards that tiny lip. Don't cut further than that, so be careful. You can use a craft knife for this. So what your page is going to look like now is this. There you have it. Just that part. This will form our spine. So that's why we have to, you can go ahead and cut this into all your sheets, all the sheets that you are using, just to cut it away like that. And we will do the same thing on the spine, but don't go ahead and do that yet. Of course, we have to cover the spine, and we will use cardstock for that so that it's really sturdy, because now you don't have the complete cover. You only have this little bit in the middle. Now, if we look at this, our beads, we will have a red one. This is not the spine, so it will be wider. We will have 2 of those, and then there's space for one tiny one in the middle. Can you see? So this one will fit in there when we are actually putting it in or putting it together. So each one will have a different color. I will have a red, a blue, and a green one there. So I actually have more than I need. At this point, I might decide to have 5 signatures. I cannot say. These things are never planned, so I will decide on the width. If I have 5 signatures, there will be 3 pages in each, which will give us a much wider spine. But I can't say at this very moment. So there, I made my promise. I kept my promise. Last week I made the promise, but I did not keep it with the last session. So just today decided I need to show you how to make the beads. You can do that for yourself. The beads can be used for so many different craft projects. You can use it as little dangles on your journals or albums or gift bags. It's up to you. You can add it to bookmarks, to cards. It's really open to any place where you want to use these beads. And then I get the promise of showing you how to cut the slits. So again, my apologies for not keeping my promise last session, but here we are today. So I will go ahead and cut my pages, and I'm done with making the beads. I think I've got enough, or maybe not, we will see. And what will happen, right? If not, I will just make a few before I string my journal and do the binding. Thanks for joining me today. Go try, make beads for yourself, use whatever paper you want or what you have available. And remember, when it's gift giving time again, children's parties, gift bags, whatever, you can use those papers. Teachers, the teachers among us, we can use this to promote fine motor skills in the classroom. Some kids really need it, as we have moved away so much from using pen and paper to write things in class. It's mostly done on iPads and tablets and things like that. Kids are not using their fine motor skills these days. So if you use this technique and you try it out for yourself, please tag Wawa Crafting on social media. No, I'm not claiming this, just as a reminder. I'm not claiming this as my own. Paper beads had been around for many years. it's just time to bring it back and make it alive again. We tend to forget these little skills that we have learned as young children. If you want to see more content like this, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I upload new content. And as always, I'll appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel too. See you back soon. Goodbye.